Hello everyone and welcome to the River Cruising Masterclass. I am your cruising expert, Sydney Schellinger, and I am so excited you guys are here today. My background, for those who can see the video, is green for Emerald Cruise Lines. Now, Emerald Cruise Lines is sister ship to Scenic, which is another cruise ship that we're going to be talking about. But they are an Australian cruise line. So I am so excited to dig in deep and to really explore this cruise line with you on this episode. As we've talked about before, this is part 6 of our 15-part series of all the river cruise companies, not all, the top river cruise companies, and what we are going to do and how I rate them, and the 15 questions that I am using to do so. Today's Friday, for those who are listening, and I just, for those who can see me, I'm obsessed with this new brand called the Queen of Sparkles, and I got this sweater today, and I'm so excited. It's postcards from all over. Anyways, easily excited. So Emerald Cruise Lines, to me, as our quick overview, is going to be similar to Viking. It holds about 180 people. And you're going to get the one excursion in port per person. I will tell you, Emerald actually has Hallmark cruises written about them. There are 3 movies on Hallmark Channel through the Danube. They are cringe in the best way possible. They have one about a prince who goes on board. They have one about these two a workaholic who quits her job and meets someone on board. And then what was the third one? They were all just so amazing in the most Hallmark way possible. It's like Love on the River is the Hallmark series. My friend and I watched them last year. They were released. We were going on our first river cruise and I wanted her to watch. So if you are wanting to get more of a visual look, I'm gonna put it on my Facebook page. It's Travel Advisor Sydney. And I will send you the videos of them. I did do last year my opinions on it, because the likely chance of a prince using a river cruise so that he can pick up artwork along the Danube versus just flying there and flying back, ridiculous. But I loved it. There were some things that I had with the production, because one day they would be in Budapest and then the next day they would be in Passau, and then the next day they'd be in Vienna, and I was like, that is not how that Danube River goes. To the point where I emailed my business development manager about the authenticity of the or the movie, and how I wish they would have been more, so people, if they saw it, would know where each destination was on the cruise. But I digress. Anyways, so Emerald Cruises is going to be the perfect blend between modern innovation and strong values. Their ships are actually called starships because they have unique features that you won't see on any other cruise line. Besides, the starship is similar on the Scenic, but it's done a different way. For example, Emerald is going to set itself up a little younger. They have something that's really cool where on the back of the ship, their swimming pool converts into a cinema at night. So basically, the pool goes up, kind of like how you saw in the teen movies in the 2000s, where the pool would become the gym floor, and it becomes like a silent disco. It becomes a movie thing. So they have this extra space basically that they can use during the evening when they're not using the pool. So I think that's really cool. The Emerald fleet in general is really young, so the accommodations and the technology on board feel up to date and super fresh. So one of the big differentiators for Emerald is the value for money inclusions. The line is going to include your gratuities are included. Beer, wine, and soft drinks at lunch and dinner are automatically included. And it's going to be the one shore excursion in every port, and then you can pick any of the ones that are optional as well. They do have some fun optional ones, like a painting class in Passau, which was on the TV show, the movie, and things of that nature. So it really has a good value for its money. Now, who is going to be your ideal traveler for this cruise line? Obviously princes, but it's going to be good for those like ones who are wanting a blend of comfort and activity. Typically it's going to be in the 50 plus range, but it does feel younger just because of the price point, and it does also lean towards not just Americans because it is an Australian based company. So you will have a lot more Aussies on board if that is something that you want. I love the accent. I had a boyfriend in a junior high that I met on a cruise ship, and anyways, the accent, love it. If you're someone who likes like the active sightseeing, think biking, hiking, the immersive tours, this is going to be something that's good for you because they're going to have those options if you want them. Emerald, as I said, appeals to a younger crowd or those who enjoy more adventurous activities, as well as you can see that the pool changes into a cinema or like an extra place where they have the dancing and things of that nature. So that is kind of the appeal that it has. It's not going to be the best choice if you are wanting the ultra luxury, ultra like all-inclusive, because it does not have the butler. It does not have an extremely high staff to guest ratio. Emerald also might feel a little like pared down compared to its sister ship, Scenic, which does have the butlers and all of the extra inclusions. So with this cruise line, kids under 10 are not allowed on the river cruises, which is a good age. And they do have a like couple of like family themed, but there is, again, none of these river cruise companies are going to have a lot on board for children unless you're doing, which is, I'm going to write that down as an episode, the family-based ones. Kind of like how Uniworld talked about, is they have their Circles program, Tauk has a program, Alma Waterways has it, the partnership with Disney, for children if you do want to go on a river cruise. A lot of the river cruise companies allow children on board, but it's very rare to see them. It's usually during like holiday breaks. I saw some on my last river cruise over Thanksgiving because grandparents brought the whole family on board so that they could do the Christmas markets together. So that's something to think about. So when it comes to the atmosphere and vibe on board, it's going to be very relaxed, very modern. It's not gonna feel super stuffy in any way. It's going to lean, I would say, like more Gen X than your typical anything of that nature, and it's not gonna feel stuffy. The owners actually pick every sort of decoration that goes into this place. It is still owned by the same family in Australia, and the wife is actually the person who is the final say on the decorating of the ships. So that is something that I find interesting, and that so when you see some of those pieces on like what the color scheme is and how that all works, that is actually done by the owner's wife. They very much kind of play towards standard Winston. The standard stateroom is going to be about 160 square feet, so a little bit bigger than what you think about. Sorry. The next door neighbor had to get a package from UPS. How dare, anyways. So your standard stateroom is going to be a little bit larger than some of the other cruise lines, but it is on par with Viking, as I was saying. So it is going to be one of the cruise lines that has more people on it. Some of the other ones. So most of the cruise lines are going to sit about like 150 to 160, and Emerald is about 180 if it is a fully booked ship. Viking is 190, just for like comparison, so that's kind of where you're gonna be at in terms of that. I will say that in some of the reviews that I've gotten from clients is the bathrooms are a little small, and so just to be prepared when you see that, and so it kind of just makes it so that it just feels a little bit more compacted if that bathroom is something that is important to you. So when it comes to like the dining and cuisine on board, you're going to get a mix of the regional specialties and international favorites. Breakfast and lunch are going to be more buffet style, and then dinner is going to be your full service dinner. I will say that Emerald, from the reviews that I have seen, is average when it comes to food. It is not something that is going to blow you away. So if you are a foodie, I would not recommend Emerald Cruise Lines for you. It is something that is fun, playful, but it is a little different. So for example, they do like to do some fusion and playful combinations, like a champagne and mustard soup with smoked salmon strips, peppermint sorbet with blueberry toppings. Those are some of like the unique ones, but I was just gonna say, like, it's not gonna be a foodie haven. It's going to be your typical food, and so it's something that's important to you. I would not recommend Emerald Cruises for you. Yeah, and another thing is in addition to the one restaurant they have, the lounge offers food for like an early riser's breakfast, so you can have like some pastries, fruit, coffee, a light lunch for those who want a quick bite instead of having to go down to the lounge. And so there are options available. Now when it comes to things to do on board, you have the pool, which not all of the cruise lines have one. Viking does not have a pool on board, and depending on the size of the ship, Avalon has them on some, but also they might just have a hot tub. So those are things that are fun. In the morning, they do have like yoga or Pilates. They have an activities manager on board to organize things like the activity hikes. And they even sometimes have like trivia or games on board. There is a small gym on board. And so if you prefer to do a workout, you have that option. The sun deck even has a mini golf putting green or a giant chess board. So if you want to do something like that, it is an option. So for enrichment and learning, Emerald has this thing called Emerald Plus, which is going to either happen on board or on shore on some of the evenings. And that's going to be like a local folk music performance in the lounge, or maybe a cooking demonstration. These are those extra like bonus things that you get for going with Emerald Cruises. Something fun to do, entertaining. As we've always talked about on these, you're not going on a river cruise to get a bunch of entertainment. You are going for the destination. I've had to have a couple of conversations this week with people looking at river cruises where just get the idea of ocean cruising out of your head. It's not even a comparison, because river cruising is more comparison to a boutique hotel that just like moves along with you versus these ginormous cruise ships. I'm going on a river cruise for Thanksgiving, and the person I'm going with has never been on one before. And so the only cruise that she's done is big ocean cruising. And so we were talking about what we were going to do on the first day. And I was talking about how we are very flexible. We can just like hop on, drop our stuff, and just go out. And she's like, well, what time do we need to be home? And I said, well, there's overnighting. So like we can be out until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning if we want. I'm not going to be, but it's an option. We were looking at taking the train and going into Zurich versus staying in Basel the whole time. But those are things to think about. I will say that Emerald does have some e-bikes on board, but you do have to sign up, and usually they might have a small additional cost as well. You can get a massage. Very important. I always like to see if the cruise lines have masseuses on board, and they do. So they do have a small room if you wanted to do things of that nature. Now, what is included and what is not included in an Emerald cruise? So as we talked about, it's all of your meals, unlimited coffee, water, drinks, beer, wine, and soft drinks included at lunch and dinner. Your gratuities for the onboard staff and the local guides are included in your fare, and you get the one excursion in each port included. Now, for the extra costs, you're going to have drinks outside of your meal times and the optional excursions called Discover More. Now, I will tell you, when looking at both Emerald or Scenic, I hate their website. I hate their website with an absolute passion. It is not the easiest thing to look around and explore. They also always have like a buy one, get one free sale, which really confuses the price, because the price looks a lot more expensive than it is, but then when you finally get to the price, it becomes more affordable most of the time. And then they also have, if you pay for it up front, you get free air. And then the free air, though, is only up to $1,500 per person. So if the air that they find is $1,700, you are still responsible for that $200, even if you can find the air online for $1,300. Don't ask me how I have that exact example, but I do for someone who went on a Scenic trip. It's just something that you have to pay attention to when it comes to this company. I feel like they offer an amazing product on board, but when it comes to like the pricing and how they do things, it is very confusing on their website on how to get everything and how to find what's going to be great for you. They also have exclusive pricing with preferred partners. If you are looking for a trip that's within 10 months, they have some great like pricing that is exclusive to travel advisor partners and things of that nature. So if you are looking at an Emerald or Scenic trip, please reach out, because there might be some pricing that you are not aware of. It is just like an exclusive price for working with a travel advisor. I do think it's a great line, especially if you were wanting an inexpensive way to get on board of a river cruise, because they do have a lot of great inclusions that you can find. And the fact that it's a newer cruise line and they have a lot more extra things than some of our other cruise lines for the price. I will just say, if you were on their website, don't get too overwhelmed or confused by it. You can always reach out and I can kind of like help you through the process. The next question was, is this cruise line a good value? And I'm going to say yes. Emerald Cruise Line is an excellent value for your money. But just make sure when you look at it, you're comparing the right price, because with their 2-for-1 deals that I always see running, and then the preferred pricing and the free airfare, like there are pieces that go into it that you just have to like work through the steps to find the true final price, versus like just being like, oh, it's $6,000 per person, but then you're not doing the BOGO, you're not doing the free air, you're not doing these pieces, and those are just some of the things to think about. But it is definitely a great brand at a great price for all of the things that they do. Where do I think this cruise line could improve, or what should travelers know? As I've talked about already, I think that travelers should know, just like the website can be convoluted and that different pricing that you see. The cabin layout, some of the standard layouts are like designed a little different for us in the United States. The bathrooms are a little bit smaller, and so just kind of putting that thing of that nature. This is just, you know, some of all of those different things that you can think about. They don't have a lot of children on board. As I talked about, you have to be over 10 years old to be on an Emerald cruise, so that is something that is a factor. Emerald is a great line. They are, I think there's 8 or 9 cruise ships that they have. They are really great at kind of blending Australian American sort of values and wants into this cruise line and making it a great product offer. I love the fact that it's family owned still, and that they're very big on like workplace satisfaction. Most of their employees return year after year because of that home feeling. And so I definitely think that's something great and should be elevated and highlighted. I think that if you're wanting a step up, I definitely think you should go Scenic. There are so many more additional inclusions, but if you're just looking for a great vacation where you get the one excursion included, you have the pool, you have some fun activities, and things of that nature, this is definitely one of the cruise lines I would look at for you. But yes, I definitely think that I would, if I was going to be comparing like value points, I would be doing like Emerald versus Viking, and how those work together pricing wise, and which one I would go from there if you were looking for something that you knew to compare it to. So in terms of like what's new or noteworthy coming out for Emerald Cruise Lines, Emerald, we did a podcast about it before, has a yacht line that I am obsessed with. It is super cool. It is small boats in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean, and it's like 128 people. And I want to go on one so bad. It is on my to-do list. It'll probably happen next year. And then on the river side, they are launching a couple of new ships. They have the Emerald Lumi, which is going to be on the Seine River starting in 2027, because that'll be the first time that Emerald is going to be on the Seine River. And so as I talked about, they're doing their family-friendly cruises, which have been introduced. And so it's going to be like, they're going to have special family cruises on the Danube and the Rhine, kid-friendly excursions like interactive museums and castle visits with costumes. It's still going to be 10 plus right now, but that is something that would be really fun for those multi-generational travelers who are wanting to have a Viking experience but want to bring their kids. This would be a great cruise line for that. And things of that nature. There are very limited, so it's going to be during the holidays and during summer, and they don't have a name for yet besides just like the family one. But make sure that if you are looking for that, you are doing it in that order. So basically right now, Emerald is on a growth spurt and innovation phase. As I've talked about in a previous podcast, they do have their Emerald yachts. Emerald River Cruises is going to be that great cruise line if you are looking for something that is going to have your basic excursions included. You've got a great feel for the place. It feels a little younger on board and that kids are allowed. Emerald is going to be the great fit for you. If you have any other questions about Emerald or any other cruise line or just river cruising in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. My Facebook and Instagram are Travel Advisor Sydney. I am actually headed on a Christmas markets cruise at the end of the month. I am super excited about it. I did the Danube last year. I'm doing the Rhine this year, and so I will be doing a compare and contrast episode as well. And then New Year's, I'm going to be doing the Nile. So I'm going to be on the Nile for New Year's Eve, and I cannot wait to see, just like being in such an ancient place and experience it. I can't wait. But yes. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to see your opinions. If there's something that I can do to make this better, or if there's a question that you have, I am here to support you. And thanks again for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the next episode of River Cruising Masterclass.